I hope that you're doing good, and I just want to share what the Lord has been showing me lately. So, I saw the word ice at a gas station, and it just stuck out to me really, really, really intensely. Ice, ice, ice. It was just ice 3 in a row. And I just didn't think too much of it. But then the next day, I was getting I was getting food at Chick-fil-A, and behind me, a woman was getting 2 bags of ice. So I'm like, okay, there's ice again. This is just sticking out to me. Lord, what are you saying? Then the next day, my daughter, we're going to the store, and she points at a thing that looks like it would have been ice, but it really wasn't. But she was like, Mom, is that ice? And so, that was today. So I'm like, okay, Lord, what is going on? So I looked it up in the Strong's Greek Concordance, and ice is spelled E-I-S in the concordance, but it's also I-C-E, and the numbers are 1519. And it's basically a preposition. The Lord is basically telling his bride that we have reached a point in time, a place in time where purpose meets destiny. He wants there to be results, no more walking in the wilderness, but he has brought us to the promised land, with many battles to still conquer. But we are in the promised land, the land flowing with milk and honey, and he just wants us to go upwards and into. And so this is a word where the Lord is giving us direction. He wants us to move forward. And I know that I was at the park the other day, and I literally felt like I walked into I don't know what it's called, but maybe like a time warp zone where I was taken back into time. Now, I know this is really weird. I've never had this happen before, but it definitely made me want to write a book for sure. It was really interesting, but I had nostalgia, and it was just really, really intense, like down to some details. And I was just like, Lord, what are you doing? And then as soon as I stepped out of the playground area, it was like I was walking out of that time zone, and I was no longer in nostalgia, but I was in a moment in time, and then the Lord took me out. And so I feel like the Lord, he's the one that's ordering our steps right now, and he is just giving us direction, and he's showing us things for a reason. And the fact that he showed me a place in time, and it reminded me and took me back to when I was like 10 years old, and it was a good thing. But he was showing me basically what he has done in my life. Where I was lacking, he provided. And I think now the bride of Christ, we could be under attack. I think many are under attack, but nonetheless, he is providing. He always provides for us, whether it's a friend, whether it's financial needs, provision, whether it's encouragement. He is the God that will replace. So if you, just for example, you didn't have your biological mom or dad didn't want to care for you, but then God gave you a new family, you got adopted into a great family. He replaced your parents for other parents. So I'm saying all that to say that God is the one that provides. And right now he is showing us that he can provide for us in the promised land. Although it's easy to look back like Lot's wife did, he does not want us to look back into Sodom and Gomorrah. He wants our hearts to be with him in the promised land, not back there in the wilderness or in slavery, back into old patterns and behaviors. It's so easy to go back, but we must continue to move forward. And one example of like a preposition is a preposition connects a noun or a phrase to show direction. So God is showing us, like, for example, direction. Something would be like, I drove to, or I graduate in, or I get out of work at this time. So it's a direction. So God is showing you specifically, showing his bride specifically, where you need to go, whether it be in the little things that he tells you throughout the days. He will tell you where you need to go, how you need to do it, how it needs to happen, when it needs to happen. And another example is a preposition of a place. So we'll meet in, or I'm waiting at, or I left my phone on. So this is a place. So the Lord is giving us direction for what he wants us to do, where he wants us to go right now. And so he also was showing me 5:22. He's been showing me this for a long time, but I looked it up again and I got something kind of different. The Lord is basically wanting us to fast, but in the context of knowing this. He took me to Matthew 9:15, Mark 2:20, and Luke 5:35, and they all say the same thing. I'm going to read Luke. It is about fasting. Then they said to him, John's disciples fast often and say prayers, and those of the Pharisees do the same, but yours eat and drink. Jesus said to them, you can't make the wedding guests fast while the groom is with them, can you? But the time will come when the groom will be taken away from them, and then they will fast in those days. So the Lord, basically, when he was with the disciples, they feasted, they celebrated, although, they were doing work and learning and the Lord was teaching them, they were feasting. They were having, a kind of like a parallel of like the wedding feast, here on earth. But then, God obviously has gone to prepare a place for us. But so that's why he says there's a time when the groom is taken away, which he has been taken away. He went up on that cross and all that. And then it says, then in those days they will fast. So we are fasting because he's not here with us, and we need to fast. We need to incline our ears to him so we can see spiritually and know what he's saying, and so we can be sensitive to his spirit. And because we're not here celebrating with him, but we can't wait to celebrate with him at the wedding feast. And so I believe that the Lord is saying at this time, with the word ice and 5:22, that he is still coming in time. Even though it's like that has been a word for the longest, for thousands of years, it's only intensified. We are fast forwarding into this moment of time. Like God can take us from one time zone to another, and like in movies, when you're going from one realm of time to another, like God is the one who directs time. And so when he comes back, it's gonna be like we are morphing up into the air like some Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I don't know where that came from, but that is definitely something that I'm just seeing. Like, Power Rangers put their hands up and they say it's morphin time, and they go in the air and they put on their suits, and then but I'm seeing more like rapture, going to meet the Lord in the air, and we're just like in a whole different time zone, in a whole different realm also. So the Lord is just saying that, like the book of Revelation, we're not going back. Once, like the book of Revelation, it's moments in time where things are happening one right after the other. And so we are in that time where we are waiting for the Lord. Things are happening. We are still protected and covered and loved. That doesn't mean that bad things don't happen. But I also was reminded that of this dream I had, because I had a vision of the dream, and it was a coffee place, and it was there was like walking around the coffee shop, but it represented walking from old life, everything the devil had stole and taken, and then walking around on the other side into the new life where your latter rain is going to be greater than the former rain. And so recompense is what the Lord is doing right now, just like Job, just like Jacob and Rebekah. Jacob had to work and work till he got his bride. Then Rebekah had to watch her sister have his babies before she even had hers, but she did have hers. So these people, their latter reign was greater than their former reign. They suffered a lot, but they grew a lot, and the Lord is with them. But right now we are walking out of the wilderness into the promised land, and it's hard, but you have to keep going in the Lord. So just be encouraged that the Lord is giving direction. He's giving instruction. There are divine connections going on because of these directions and instructions. The Lord is doing it, and we don't have to worry, because with the prophetic word, it's a prophetic word, but that means that the Lord has already ordered the steps of his people. So it's just to give us encouragement. It's to confirm and let us know, and we don't have to worry or really look for anything. We just have to sit at his feet, and he will direct our steps. So he has a proposition, and basically it's just telling us facts, like this is this and that is that. This is where this is, and this is what's going to happen, and this is how it's going to happen, period. So, sit before the Lord so you can know what your situation is. And, the Lord Jesus is coming, and, all these last minute weddings, these last days weddings, it's just representing him, and the fact that we're going to be up in the air with him, having a wedding feast in his castle, whatever you want to call it. And we wait for him, and we fast while we wait. So God bless you guys. Have a good night, have a good day, have a good morning wherever you are.